The Watcher in the Walls. It was a cold night when Clara first noticed the sounds. At first, they were faint, a soft thud, a scratch, a creak of wood that seemed almost too deliberate to be natural. She'd convinced herself it was just the house settling, the wind pushing against the old, creaky windows of her new apartment. But as the days passed, the noises grew louder, more insistent. The apartment was perfect quiet, private, and the rent was cheap. Located in a small building on the edge of the city, it was the ideal spot for someone who liked their solitude. Clara had been eager to leave her old place behind, to escape the noise of city life and the painful memories that clung to every room there. The last thing she expected was for her new sanctuary to become the source of her worst nightmares. The first night was the worst. As Clara lay in bed, trying to forget the day's events and fall asleep, she heard it. A faint tapping, followed by a low, rhythmic scratching. She froze. The sound seemed to be coming from the walls. She turned her head slowly toward the sound, straining her ears to pick out the direction. It was coming from the corner of the room where the wall met the ceiling. She told herself it was nothing, perhaps a mouse or the pipes, anything but what her mind was whispering to her. But the more she tried to ignore it, the more it persisted. It was as though someone or something was trying to get her attention. With trembling hands, Clara grabbed her phone from the nightstand and pulled up a flashlight. She crept out of bed, her footsteps muffled by the thick carpet, and moved toward the corner. The scratching had stopped, leaving only the silence of the room. Clara's heart hammered in her chest, her breath shallow and quick. She was about to shine the light at the wall when, suddenly, the sound returned. Thud, scratch, thud, scratch. Her breath caught in her throat. The sound was louder now, closer, as though something was trying to break through the wall. She backed away, fear bubbling up her throat like bile. What the hell was that? It was no animal, no pipe. It was too rhythmic, too purposeful. Clara didn't sleep that night. Every time she closed her eyes, she could hear the tapping as if it were coming from the very walls of her mind. The next morning, Clara tried to brush it off. It was probably just her nerves. Moving into a new place always had a way of messing with your head. She made a cup of coffee and sat by the window, looking out over the city streets, trying to ignore the cold chill that lingered in the room. The apartment felt different in the daylight, less menacing, more like a home. But every now and then, she could hear it again, a distant thud. As she tossed the flashlight aside, desperate to see anything in the darkness. Plaster, its eyes hollow and black. It reached out, its long, bony fingers brushing Clara's skin before she could scream. Then everything went black.